pro heroes are the strongest quirk users in My Hero Academia. There's even an official power ranking in Universe, but we all have our own opinions about who's the best. By this point, we've seen so many that I thought it would be fun to rank them all from weakest to strongest. Out of all the currently active heroes, who would I want rescuing me if I got into trouble with a villain? I'm not including All Might or Endeavor, as we already know those guys are objectively the strongest. This kind of ranking is somewhat subjective, so I'd be interested to read your best and worst pro heroes in the comments. Without further ado though, let's start with the weakest. The lowest spot goes to Lunch Rush. I'm sorry, he's a great guy and an important part of the UA family, and as a resident chef, he looks after everyone during their day-to-day lives. But that's not much use in a fight, and I can't imagine how being an excellent cook could be helpful in a dire situation. Backdraft. We see this firefighter hero keeping civilians safe and dealing with the aftermath of major incidents. He can shoot water, which is a good supporting ability, but he's never shown to be a fighter, only dealing with reducing damage. Recovery Girl. UA's formidable grandma. I love Recovery Girl and how she endlessly helps the students get back in the shape whenever they've been hurt. But while she'd be crucial to any team dealing with the aftermath of an incident, I wouldn't want to throw her into combat. We must protect her. Present Mic is a popular character, so I feel kinda bad for putting him so low. He does have the ability to make ear-splitting sounds, but with his role in the story being more of an announcer, I'm not sure how much I'd trust him to save me. Uwabami, the Snake Hero. Momo and Kendo do an internship with her, and the fact that she's able to take interns tells me she's strong in her own right. She has something valuable to pass on to the next generation. However, that appears to be modeling work, and she cares more about how cute her interns are rather than how strong they can be. Gunhead is another pro hero we're introduced to through the internships. He's mentoring Uraraka, and while his literal gunhead is pretty intimidating, we don't see enough of him for me to place him any higher than this. Centipeter. I don't understand what it is about being a bug in a suit that's supposed to make Centipeter so strong, but he is considered worthy of taking over from Sir Night-Eye. Maybe he has some hidden power we don't know about. Mount Lady is one of those heroes who is definitely strong, but due to her quirk, it's better suited for a supporting role. Her ability to grow ginormous is great for defense, but she can't control her size well enough to use in many offensive situations. UA's Principal Nezu is an unusual case, being an animal who developed a quirk. His incredible intelligence makes him an excellent strategist worthy of leading the school, but his small size and lack of physical strength mean that there are a lot of heroes I'd place higher in terms of power. The Wild Wild Pussycats. As a team, they're strong and work well together, but without working as that unit, individually, they're less impressive in my opinion. Having said that, I didn't want to put them lower in my ranking, just because of how well they were able to train so many students at once. Getting into the mid-tier, next is Fourth Kind. He takes in Kirishima and Tetsu for their internships, and while he is harsh on his students, he seems very strong. We just haven't seen enough of him for me to rank him any higher. Sirius. She's a sweet character with a really useful quirk that allows her to hear from a great distance, but she works best in a team with her boss, Selkie. Despite her good heart and discipline, I don't think she would do well on her own. Midnight is powerful enough to be a staff member at UA with her quirk that puts others to sleep. For a rescue mission, I'm sure that can come in handy, but she was outwitted by Mineta. For that reason, I think in terms of power, she doesn't rank as highly as some of her fellow teachers. Selkie is a big seal, so he has lots of physical power and speed, and he's a great mentor to Froppy. But he's outwitted by the stowaways he's chasing and ends up trapped inside their boat, so I don't think he has the intelligence to make the best use of his strength. Bubble Girl works for Sir Night-Eye, and her quirk is pretty unique in producing bubbles. She's strong enough to mentor under Night-Eye, and is clearly smart enough to back up her powers. Death Arms. There's not a lot to say about this guy, other than he's really strong. However, I don't think he has much of anything else to back up his physical powers, in terms of being a clever strategist, for example. Cementos is another UA teacher whose quirk is useful in specific situations. He can create cement walls and manipulate cement to engulf his enemies. He's very skilled in doing so, but he's limited to using it where cement is already available. 13's quirk, Black Hole, is worthy of our respect, and I'm glad she's on the side of the heroes. In the wrong hands, Black Hole could be very destructive, but she lost to Uraraka and Aoyama in the final exams due to being cocky about her quirk. Rocklock doesn't sugarcoat his thoughts, and comes across as skeptical of the student's abilities. But his interesting quirk allows him to control the terrain to gain an advantage over his opponent, and I think this is an incredibly useful power. Snipe. His quirk allows him to be lethally precise when shooting a gun. Not only that, but he's clever in how he uses it and how he fights. Personally, I'd rather take a punch than a bullet, which is why Snipe ranks towards the top of our mid-tier. Vlad King has one of the grossest quirks among the pro heroes, being blood control. It's a powerful quirk though, and add that to his strength and speed, he's a great all-rounder. Our top 10 starts with Ectoplasm. He's a scary guy despite being a great teacher, and his clone quirk is difficult to fight against. I think his clones are fairly limited though, and an opponent that can quickly hit at range could get the better of him. Gang Orca is strong, fast, and intimidating. He's a great mentor, and his quirk allows him to use sound waves to paralyze his foes. I can understand his high place in the official pro hero ranking for sure. Kamui Woods is a highly ranked pro hero, and he has the amazing abilities to show it. His quirk lets him grow his wooden body parts into weapons. However, being made of wood, his biggest weakness is fire, and in a serious fight, that could be a problem without decent support. Ryukyu. A highly ranked hero with great defense and power. I mean, she literally turns into a dragon and absorbs a shockwave from one of Overall's underlings. I'm placing Gran Torino over Ryukyu though, because he's the incredible man that trained the all-powerful All Might. I know he's technically retired, so I'm breaking my own rules, but he's such an important figure in this story, I didn't want to leave him out. He's incredibly intelligent and super fast. At his prime, he might have even made the top of the list. Fatgum has such impressive endurance, being able to take hundreds of punches in a row and absorb them into his body. He can then reflect the energy absorbed to attack his opponent. Not only is he a fantastic shield, but he can carry tired allies and civilians on his body. He's the ultimate protector, and he looks like Totoro. Edgeshot. A calm, quick-thinking hero with even quicker reflexes. He can turn himself almost instantly into a string that can even cut through bone. Intelligent enough to use this effectively, he's a terrifying opponent and a welcome ally. Best Jeanist is capable of taking Bakugo as an intern, and that's why he's number 3.
Are you sure about that?
I'm obviously kidding, but Best Jeanist is truly deserving of this spot. His quirk is one of the best in the show, and he can use it both as defense and offense. He even managed to hold his own against All For One for a second while saving his colleagues. Eraserhead. A fan favorite character and a formidable opponent. He can use his bandages to restrain his foe while he uses Erase to neutralize their quirk. Although Erase has its limits, Eraserhead is so intelligent that he can work around his weaknesses, whether through clever tactics, incredible endurance, or physical fighting prowess. In my opinion, he's the strongest UA teacher, if not quite the best pro hero overall. I couldn't justify not choosing Hawks for the top ranking. During the last 2 episodes of Season 4, we're introduced to this pro hero who takes the number 2 spot in Universe next to Endeavor. We see him hold his own alongside the new number 1, and his quirk and sharp mind impressed me from the get-go. Honestly, from what we've seen so far, I don't think anyone else I've spoken about comes close in power to Hawks. That wraps up my ranking of all the pro heroes from weakest to strongest. Be sure to tell me your thoughts on whether or not you agreed or disagreed. I always enjoy reading everyone's opinions, especially when it comes to rankings. Thanks for watching, and stick around for more MHA content in the future.